Hi, Colonel West. Thank
Yeah.
you so much for coming out.
My pleasure.
My question, how would you say we should respond to people who might cite acts of terror supposedly committed by Israeli troops as evidence that we should not support the Israeli government?
I got to tell you something. I have never seen a military that will go through such painstaking motions to tell you that we're coming right here to attack. We're coming right here to bomb. Can you please leave? We don't do that. Now, in Desert Shield, Desert Storm, we dropped leaflets on the Iraqi army saying that tomorrow you're going to wake up dead. But we didn't go through those painstaking measures like the Israeli military does. Hamas does not care about its own people. All of this food aid that is going into Gaza, they're taking and they're forcing the people to buy it from them so that they can continue to buy weapons. You know, the tunnels that are under hospitals, putting command and control centers near schools, they don't care about their own people, but they've got a great propaganda machine. I mean, remember the quote unquote missile that hit a hospital that came from Israel, and oops, all of a sudden we realized it was a terrorist missile that hit the hospital, but that was buried on like page 20. See, that's how we have got to start sifting through some of this propaganda and getting to the truth. Look, if anybody were to come across the border into the United States of America and do what Hamas did, what do you think America would do? I'll tell you what America would do. America would do exactly what they did when Pancho Villa came across the border and went into New Mexico and killed just about 19 Americans. We sent General John Blackjack Pershing and the Expeditionary Force into Mexico to find him and to whip him. And oh, by the way, let me talk to you about a little bit of history when it comes to unlawful combatants in the United States of America. Go back and read this. 1942, Operation Pastorius. The Germans actually landed 2 teams of 4 saboteurs into the United States of America in 1942. Their mission was to attack bridges, structure, buildings, what have you. We found out who they were, and we got all 8 of them. In a few months, they went through a military tribunal. 6 of them were sentenced to death by the electric chair. 2 of them got the life imprisonment. That's how we dealt with people that came onto our shores as unlawful combatants that were intending to do harm against American people. So I will tell you that what Israel is doing, hats off to them, because I guarantee you, if that were to happen, if someone were to come across the border into Texas and kill a bunch of Americans, all y'all would be upset. Y'all would be screaming from the rafters, who we're going to go kick their butt. When I hear young people out there saying free, free Palestine, from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. And of course, maybe you've seen some of those interviews where people go up and say, which river and what sea? And then you get the deer in the headlights look. See, that's why it's so important, as the Bible will say, study to show thyself approved. You got to read. It's not just the formal education you get in the walls of a university. It's also an informal education, such as what we're talking about tonight. Where did the word Palestine come from? Okay. Well, I'm going to answer it. I'm sure you got it. But you've got to go all the way back to the Simon Bar Kokhba revolt against the Roman Empire, 32 to 135 AD. Emperor Hadrian was in charge of the Roman Empire at the time. The Romans got tired of these people, the Jewish people, causing up a bunch of mess down in this area called Judea. So they put the full might of the Roman Empire against them to crush them. They wanted them to understand that they saw that Judaism was the root cause of them consistently revolting against them. I think the Simon Bar Kokhba revolt was like the 3rd Jewish revolt against the Roman Empire. So once they defeated the Jewish people in the Simon Bar Kokhba revolt, Emperor Hadrian sent out these 2 decrees. Number 1, Jerusalem would be renamed to Aelia Capitolina, and the entire region that was called Judea would be renamed to Syriac Palestina, Palaestinia. Now, the root word of Palestina goes back to Philistia, because what Emperor Hadrian really was seeking to do was to poke the Jewish people in the chest by renaming their land after their ancient enemies, the Philistines. Remember that big guy, Goliath and David with the little stumps. That was their ancient enemy. But when you go back and you study, okay, who are the Philistines? The Philistines were not indigenous people to that region. The Philistines traced their ancestry back to Greece. So when you talk about freeing Palestine, you're actually saying that we're going to restore it back to the people that it was taken from originally. But how many folks here ever heard of Yasser Arafat? Yasser Arafat, who created the Palestinian Liberation Organization, one of the early Islamic terrorist organizations. If you don't recall, I do recall, I think it was the 1972 Olympics in Munich when the PLO took Jewish athletes hostage and murdered them. And I looked at my dad and said, what's going on? Why did they stop the Olympics? See, Yasser Arafat, very brilliantly so, decided if we wanted to turn the tide against the Jewish people in the Middle East, he would associate Arabs to the word Palestine. And so in the 1960s, that was the first time you ever heard the term Palestinian. Prior to that, you never heard the word Palestinian. As a matter of fact, if you go back after World War II, any and everyone that lived in that region, the British gave them a passport that said Palestine, Jew, Arab, whomever. But truthfully, it comes back to what Emperor Hadrian did in decreeing that land as such. But what people have failed to do is to study to understand exactly where that came from. And so now it's been propagandized, it's been manipulated. So people want to create something history has never had. There's never been a kingdom. There's never been a king, a queen, a satrap, a prince, nothing of a place called Palestine. It's a region. And as a matter of fact, the French and Italian sea merchants also called the exact same region the Levant. And what does Levant mean? Levant means rises from the sea. Because if you're ever coming into the coast of Israel and coming into that region, coming into Tel Aviv across the Mediterranean, it looks like the mountains are right there on the water. And that's what Levant means, rises from the sea. Now, why don't we say Levantinians? Actually, the only people that ever used that was ISIS. If you go back, you remember they used to call themselves the Islamic State in Iraq and Syria, and they also call themselves ISIL, the Islamic State in the Levant. See, that's why we have to be very smart and study these things and understand these things, and don't just get caught up in some trend that is going on. If we fail to realize that Hamas, and let me be real, Hamas is not going anywhere, okay? If you have never read Hamas's charter, you should read Hamas's charter. Hamas's charter calls for the eradication and elimination and destruction of not only the state of Israel, but Jews worldwide. That's who they are. Same with Hezbollah. And I remember being a kid and watching the Ayatollah Khomeini coming into power. And this is exactly what the result has been, a resurgence of Islamic terrorism, Islamic jihadism, Islamofascism, which has brought itself here into the United States of America. The largest Islamic terrorist funding case in U.S. history was out of Texas. 2008, Holy Land Foundation trial, where groups were raising money to send to Hamas. So this is right here in your backyard. So I want you to be aware of that. And again, this is not about hating anybody, but this is about understanding history, understanding philosophies, understanding ideologies, understanding belief systems. Because really and truthfully in the United States of America, this is no longer about Republican or Democrat. Just throw that aside. America was founded on a belief that the individual is sovereign. And why do we say that the individual is sovereign in the United States of America? Because America is the embodiment of John Locke and natural rights theory. This really is. And if you don't know natural rights theory, do we have a political science professor or someone in here? 89, 2 treatises of government. You should go back and check that out. Life, liberty, and property. Thomas Jefferson changed to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. When no other nation, this is what we celebrate next year, 250 years, no other nation was founded on a premise that the individual is sovereign because your rights come from a sovereign God. That's what you're endowed by. And right now, what we are facing is a belief that says, nah, your rights don't come from a sovereign God with a big G. It comes from government. Don't believe me? Go back to September. Senator Tim Kaine, who was that close to being the vice president of the United States of America back in 2004. 2016. And also, he was the former governor of the state of Virginia, Commonwealth of Virginia, the place that gave us Thomas Jefferson, the place that gave us Madison, the writers of the Declaration, the writers of the United States Constitution. Tim Kaine stated that our rights don't come from a creator God. They come from government. That's a sitting United States senator that said that. See, that's the problem that we have here in our country. And if we don't understand what formulates us here as an American people, then we don't understand how important it is. And then we allow people to come in here illegally and usurp those rights and freedoms and liberties. Because I would have never thought that I'd see a day when law enforcement is being attacked for enforcing the law. Article 4, Section 4 of the Constitution says there are two things that the federal government is supposed to guarantee to every state in the union. It's called a guarantee clause. Number one, a Republican form of government, not party, Republican form of government, because America is a constitutional republic. The second thing is to protect every state in the union from invasion. But that's what we have going on right now. Now, let me flip over to another little thing that we need to discuss. So let me close out on this. If Israel goes, that's the canary in the coal mine, because then the sights will be turned on us. That's what you're facing. And it really troubles me when I see young people on college and university campuses that are going out there and supporting Islamic terrorist organizations that, oh, by the way, on October 7th of 2023, kill young people at a peace concert and rape young women. then killed them. So we got to have these discussions.